Good afternoon, evening, mythical morning from your isolation stations. Tom Campbell from station 24601, and yeah, we're done with WrestleMania. Somehow, some way, we got over the finish line. And we are now living in a post-WrestleMania 36 world, and wrestling goes on. In fact, here's some headlines. Future WWE title plans have been revealed. Some huge stars were approached for parts at WrestleMania 36. And what does the WWE have planned for TV going forward? Find out in a little while. So one of the standout matches from WrestleMania weekend was the bout between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. This was the opening match to night 2 of WrestleMania 36, and they absolutely stormed it, in my opinion. However, the result confused quite a lot of people, including myself. I kind of thought Rhea Ripley getting a big old win over Charlotte Flair on the grandest stage of them all was a foregone conclusion. I did a bet in the predictions and everything for it, but watching Rhea Ripley tap out in the big old figure 8 was a bit, whoa, what happened there? What's that about? Charlotte Flair is the NXT Women's Champion, but she's a big roster person. What are you doing? Is that you again, Monica? If you got the paperwork wrong, Monica. Yeah, this was a confusing result, but it does look as if there are big plans heading into the future for the NXT Women's Championship, outlined by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. We'll get to his comments in just a bit. Alex McCarthy from TalkSport had a conversation with Charlotte, which he mentioned on Twitter. And she says that she's only just scratched the surface when it comes to Rhea Ripley. So they had a great match, and there was some serious chemistry between them, in my opinion. So we're looking at future matches with them down the road. Dave Meltzer talks a bit more on this on the Wrestling Observer. He says that the plan is for Charlotte Flair to be a part of Wednesday nights. One of the WWE's big plans at the moment is to win on Wednesdays. So Charlotte Flair, who doesn't have a lot to crack on with at the moment on the main roster, is given something meaty to bite into with becoming the NXT Women's Champion on NXT on a Wednesday night. And it looks as if her plans are good. She's going to be quite a busy one going forward. Dave from The Observer says the plan right now is that Charlotte is going to work both Raw and NXT with no house shows and nothing else going on. It's not like you're overtaxing someone to make them work twice a week. And that's a really good point. If at the moment these empty arena shows are going to be how we're going to roll for the foreseeable, I guess Charlotte doing NXT and Raw isn't going to be a massive stretch, especially if they're normally filmed in bulk around the same time anyway, if that's indeed where we go. We'll talk more about the plans for TV taping going forward a little bit later on in this video. But initially I was quite shocked and perturbed by watching Charlotte Flair submit Rhea Ripley. I thought that might sort of destroy a lot of Rhea Ripley's momentum, but the more I kind of think about it, the more I'm kind of coming round to the idea that, you know what, there is something in Charlotte being chased by Rhea Ripley. Maybe. I mean, could we have found another way of getting Charlotte on NXT without having Rhea Ripley lose at WrestleMania? Absolutely. You completely could have done. You could have had Ripley beat Charlotte on Sunday and then had Charlotte turn up at NXT going, oh, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to stay here until I beat you. And you could have done that. But it's the classic wrestling cliche, isn't it? Of the dominant heel being chased by the popular babyface. So we could easily see a couple more weeks, maybe months of Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley going forward. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But the plans going forward are for Charlotte Flair to hold the NXT Women's Championship aloft on Wednesday nights. I know, I didn't see that coming either. Two big stars were meant to be a part of WrestleMania 36 this weekend. I know, Rob Gronkowski, surely you couldn't add to the star power of the Gronk. called himself the host with the most. Compare him to the beast with the least, in my opinion. I'm kidding! I'm not kidding. But there were meant to be a few more names as part of WrestleMania. One of those was a guy who has dabbled in WWE in recent times, and that was Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, of course, we saw face Braun Strowman at Super Showdown and got an entrance with a firework display that rivaled Sydney at New Year. It was ridiculous. And Tyson has said on many occasions how much fun he had being a part of WWE and how keen he was to come back. He spoke to TalkSport and Alex McCarthy about this, and Tyson said, "I was supposed to be at WrestleMania 36, but obviously with the pandemic, I couldn't be there." He also said he would love to face Drew McIntyre after his match with Wilder. A rematch rather with Wilder. Drew and Fury for the WWE Championship. Let's not give any ideas, shall we? The other name that was set to be a part of the granddaddy of them all was a guy who knows the granddaddy of them all incredibly well. A man who has headlined his fair share of granddaddies of them all. You could call him the granddaddy of the granddaddy of them all. I am, of course, talking about Duke the Dumpster Droese, who was a massive part of wrestling in the... I'm not. I'm talking about Hulk Hogan, real American. Fortunately, the plans to bring in Hulk Hogan, very much like Rick Derringer predicted, came crashing down and hurt inside. Hulk Hogan was set to be part of the show anyway. He was going to be part of the NWO induction for the Hall of Fame. But when all the plans changed as a result of the pandemic and WrestleMania was moved to the Performance Center, there was some talk, and this is really cool, there was some talk of them doing like a peep show type segment during WrestleMania, hosted by Christian and featuring Hulk Hogan. Would have been quite cool, utilising the people that you could probably still utilise, and obviously with Edge being there, bringing Christian in might have been good fun as well, but alas, that ended up not happening. All we know is, according to numerous sources and Ringside News, they say there were talks to have Hulk Hogan come in, but those negotiations fell apart. I imagine Hulk Hogan probably felt that he would struggle to exaggerate the audience when the attendance is zero. Although there is something quite nice about Hogan 10 years down the line, had he come along on Sunday going, "I was there at WrestleMania 36, 93,000 people watching me slam the 7'5" Christian during the peep show." That'd have been fun. I like it when Hulk Hogan lies. It's funny. We have to talk a little bit about the Boneyard match, don't we? Oh, we have to talk about the Boneyard match. Saturday night's WrestleMania was headlined by The Undertaker and AJ Styles basically being in a short movie about a grown man who goes to face the kid who's been bullying his son. That's kind of how it felt at points. I loved the Boneyard match. It was the kind of stupid fun that we need right now. It was perfect. And we got a few more details about the making of the Boneyard match. It took 8 hours to produce the entire thing, to film the entire thing. They had plans to do more outlandish stuff with the set. They wanted to use like the roadside, and they had plans to use a ditch for certain things, but they struggled to get planning permission in time, and the time was very much of the essence as they were recording this, because it was on the countdown to everything going into lockdown. Should be a TNA pay-per-view, that. And so they had to kind of they moved on and did other things with it instead. There's some photos doing the rounds online of the set where they were filming it, and you can see Triple H there. You can also see in some of the pictures doing the rounds, Jeremy Borash is there as well, and Borash was a major part of Matt Hardy's Final Deletion movie wrestling match nonsenses from TNA, from Impact Wrestling, and those were very much considered the inspiration for some of the stuff that we see today, like the Boneyard match. So Borash being involved with it makes a lot of sense. Was there a script? No, you'll be surprised to hear that all the grunts and the groans and that bit where Undertaker suddenly caught asthma, and all the lines from AJ like, "You're an old man now, old man, I'm going to hurt you." The bit where Undertaker went, How old am I? What's my wife's name? Like he'd forgotten. All of that was improvised. And Triple H, who was there on the set, was more than happy just to let them go with it. So why was it AJ Styles versus The Undertaker in the first place? Well, this is a really sweet story, actually, that comes from Mark Raimondi from ESPN. He says that it was Kurt Angle's involvement that brought that together. He said that he spoke to Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle had told him how disappointed Undertaker was with his match with Goldberg and how he wanted to do something to make it right. And Kurt Angle said, what about wrestling AJ Styles? It'll be the best match you've had in years. And Kurt Angle was so right, but not for the reasons he thought he'd be right. I love that Boneyard match so much. I want one every year now. I feel like a very entitled wrestling fan. I want one every year, please. So now that WrestleMania is done and dusted, now that we are past the oak tree on the hill, what comes next? Well, WWE have taped Raw and NXT for this week, but there is a cloud over SmackDown, which is due to go out on Friday. Dave Meltzer has shed a bit of light on this in the Wrestling Observer this week, and apparently they're looking to tape SmackDown sometime between now and Friday. There was a location that they're trying to keep secret that is supposed to be in a shutdown state, according to Meltzer. But we will see what happens. Maybe they won't be able to do it, maybe they will, but that's the goal. So to no surprise, WWE do have other options as well as the Performance Center for where they can film. And then after that, who knows? I mean, presumably, if they have somewhere where they can go and film for SmackDown, it'll be somewhere where they can film Raw and NXT, and they can get a couple of weeks worth of TV in the can. Very similar to what AEW did last week. AEW from this undisclosed location in Georgia. If you Google it, you could find it, but I'd like to keep the secret. They spent a whole 3 days just block recording a whole load of stuff to the point where they're pretty much taped now until the middle of May. So AEW are pretty much in the clear for the time being. WWE hoping to be in a similar place by the end of this week, but we will see what happens there. Then there's Money in the Bank, which is the next WWE pay-per-view, which is due to land in May. And the issue is that it was booked to be in Baltimore, Maryland in May, and there's a strong chance that ain't gonna go down the way it's gonna go down. Yet over the weekend, they were very heavily advertising the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So it looks as if, from numerous sources, that if Maryland is no longer an option, and they're not listing Baltimore, Maryland as a place for Money in the Bank anymore, they're not listing anything. So it looks as if we could see Money in the Bank held at the Performance Center, very similar to WrestleMania, because come May, hopefully the complete shutdown of Florida will have ceased and things will be starting to get back to normal, so they'll be let back into the Performance Center where they can continue to shoot a bulk load of stuff to keep them ticking over. So whilst there are still tentative plans for WWE TV going forward, we are still very much living on the end of the lightning bolt right now, and it's all very much up in the air. Expect the unexpected from everything right now. From WWE, who haven't revealed where they're filming, to AEW on whether or not their major pay-per-view will go ahead. From Cultaholic, from a man who looks like he's wearing a suit, but in truth, he's literally just put a shirt and a jacket on, and he's still wearing his pajamas because he's been in bed for 5 hours because WrestleMania. Have a lovely Monday. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.